This is a video presentation for Chapter 21, The Furnace of War, 1861 to 1865, and the questions over this chapter. This chapter begins on page 435 in your textbook, and this is just a short video presentation pointing out a couple of specific things in your assignment. Again, all the images and video links within this presentation are in public domain. Don't hesitate to email or give me a phone call if you have any questions. Excuse me. So we're going to go ahead and start chapter 21, and we'll start with the first page. On the first page, I just wanted to call your attention here, first page of the assignment, to some of these figures here. George McClellan. Picture George McClellan, we have Robert E. Lee, we have Stonewall Jackson, very famous generals involved in the first year or so of the war. And we'll get to number 8 here. What were the 6 components to Lincoln's and the Union's total war? 6 components to the war, to total war. And the answers to this can be found on page 438 in your textbook. Page 438, first full paragraph on the left-hand side. Union strategy now turned to total war. As finally developed, the Northern military plan had 6 components. 6 of them. So, first, slowly suffocate the South by blockading its coasts. Second, liberate the slaves, undermining the very economic foundations of the Old South. Third, cut the Confederacy in half by seizing control of the Mississippi River. Fourth, and chop the Confederacy in half or to pieces by sending troops up through Georgia and the Carolinas. Fifth, decapitate it by capturing the capital at Richmond. And lastly, sixth, Grant's idea especially, try to everywhere engage the enemy's main strength and grind it to submission. We'll talk a lot more about this in the PowerPoint presentation, but just find the answers to number 8 on page 438. And then we also call your attention here to the various ironclads that were used in the war. Page 439, the Merrimack and the Monitor. Kind of some interesting stories there about the first 2 ironclads fought to a standstill in 1862. Alright, we'll move to the next page in your assignment. On the second page of your Chapter 21 assignment, I wanted to call your attention to questions 12 and 13. And right after the second Battle of Bull Run, where Lee had success, Lee tried to daringly thrust into Maryland. He was hoping to win a battle on northern soil. And this would be a pivotal point. So in Maryland is the Battle of Antietam. And so this is General Lee daringly thrust into Maryland. This is on page 440, the last full paragraph. On page 440, left-hand column. But Lee hoped to strike a blow that would not only encourage foreign intervention, but also seduce the still wavering border states to maybe switch sides. Now, then you look at this next question, and this fortunate, number 14, the fortunate occurrence that helped Lincoln halt, or the Union halt, Lee at Antietam. And so then you look also then on page 440 on the right-hand column, and luckily enough, as fortune shone upon McClellan and the Union, 2 Union soldiers found a copy of Lee's battle plans wrapped around a package of 3 cigars that were dropped by a very careless Confederate officer. So these were known as the Special Orders 191, and a copy of this lost order was found wrapped by wrapping cigars. So this is a copy of that. So those are the battle plans. So number 14, this is a very fortunate occurrence that allowed the Union to defeat Lee at Antietam. Now right after Antietam, the Battle of Antietam, Lincoln was long awaiting a victory so that he could deliver his Emancipation Proclamation. So a couple of questions here. A proclamation, in fact, without emancipation. So controversially, this proclamation without an emancipation, and how the presidential pen did not formally strike the shackles from a single slave, where Lincoln could presumably free the slaves, that is, in the loyal border states, he refused to do so. Least he did spur disunion from these border states. So where Lincoln could not free the slaves, that is, in the Confederate states, he tried to. Where Lincoln could not, that is, in the southern states, the Confederate states, he tried to, but he couldn't. In short, where he could, he would not, and where he would, he could not. And so Lincoln freed the slaves in the South, but when the South is at war, that doesn't really matter. So Lincoln freed the slaves in the South, but he did not free the slaves in the border states. So the Emancipation Proclamation was a proclamation without, in fact, emancipation. Other things within this second page of your assignment, there's going to be some questions about Burnside, Ambush Burnside, and Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville as well, the Battle of Chancellorsville, where Hooker is in charge, Joseph Hooker, Chancellorsville, and then after Chancellorsville, there's a push by Lee once again up north into Gettysburg, which then gets us to the third page of this assignment. On this third page of your assignment, I wanted to call your attention to some of the maps. We're leading into Gettysburg. Gettysburg comes right after. If you look at this map, let's see which map. This map. If you look at this map, these 3 battles, you first have Fredericksburg, then Chancellorsville, and then at that point Lee wants to have a victory on northern soil, and so he quickly goes up north into Pennsylvania. And so those 3 battles, 1, 2, 3, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, and Gettysburg, are extremely important. And so when you're looking at 26 and 27, we're talking about the 3 days at Gettysburg, July 1, July 2, and July 3. So I wanted to call your attention to the maps on page 445 in your textbook. And then also when you get down here to the bottom of the page, some of the other questions deal with Burnside's march from Atlanta to Savannah, destroying everything in his path. One of the aspects of the total war. And the victory at Atlanta also ensures that Lincoln is able to, if you look at this question, one of the northern victories is at Atlanta that helps Lincoln win the presidential election of 1864. And also then the victories out west at Vicksburg, Memphis, and these are victories by General Grant. General Grant takes over. General Ulysses S. Grant takes over from General Meade right after Gettysburg for the North, and then this is William Tecumseh Sherman, and Sherman's march from Atlanta to Savannah is very important. So spend some time looking and being familiar with these maps, and then we'll move into the last page. So in the last page of this assignment, kind of finishing up the war, leading into also then Lincoln's assassination. Lincoln is assassinated shortly after his election into his second term. And then also I wanted to point out that these two images here lead to links. This is a link to the preview for the video by Stephen Ambrose, the movie Lincoln. And I would encourage you to watch either the movie Lincoln, which focuses largely on the Emancipation Proclamation, but then also the movie Glory. With Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington. Glory is a great movie that focuses on the 54th Massachusetts and the African American regiment that fought for the North during the Civil War. And this also then, if you click on this image, that is also a preview for that war, or for that video, for that movie. So watch one or both of these videos. This one is about 2 hours, a little bit longer. This is about an hour and a half. But well worth your time just to focus on either the Emancipation Proclamation and Lincoln himself, or 54th Massachusetts and African Americans fighting in the war. So please spend time watching one of those movies, if not both. And that concludes the questions, the assignments for Chapter 21. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to email or give me a call. And just a reminder that all of these images are in the public domain. Thank you, and that concludes the question and the assignments for Chapter 21.